dark academia, seance chic, medieval cobbled streets. Books conjure up different visuals and aesthetics that catch hold of our imaginations. I saw the Spinster library recommend some books based on some like Pinterest boards from the Books That Feel Like This subreddit, and I thought I'd do a little bit of a spin on that. I have some books that I've read that I want to recommend, and I've made little mood boards to maybe pique your interest. So if you're drawn to the vibes and like the sound of these books, then I say pick them up. I'm going to get straight into it. We've got historical fiction, but think Tudor England. We've got village life, local manor house, religious vibes, dreamy, softcore. That's The Book of Days by Francesca Kay. This novel is set in 1546 and follows Alice through the months that her husband is essentially dying. This is a portrait of life in a post-Reformation world. I studied the English Reformation for A-level, and anyone who knows about this will tell you it was a top-down Reformation. People liked Catholicism on the whole. You know, they liked the saints' days and praying to relics and elaborate church decorations and hymns and stuff like that. Alice's husband has sort of been paying and obsessed with this vision that he's going to have this chantry chapel, which is like a little chapel like within the church where there'll be one person or two people, however many someone wants to pay for, and their job is essentially like a monk or a priest or something to say prayers for this person every single day so that they get to heaven quicker. There's going to be a special tomb for all the family in there, including Alice, her stepdaughter Agnes. So yeah, you see the progress of this tomb being built. You get to know the people doing the building and all the priests, the inhabitants of the house as well, and also the local village. The writing is beautiful. It's like for 90% of the book, it is really slow paced. You're just kind of drifting through Alice's world. She has to reckon with the fact that, you know, if she doesn't have another child before her husband dies, she's essentially got nowhere to go. The village is like this little bubble, you know, they don't really expect the reforms to affect them that much. They assume that they can sort of carry on with their saints' days and all of the like worshipping as usual. But unfortunately, it starts to, you know, the Reformation starts to come to their door a little bit. And they're all coming to that realization, and the sort of different factions of people within the village, people who are maybe taking the Reformation more seriously, people who aren't, it starts to come to the fore, those cracks. Maybe it was because I was listening to this like as an audiobook and I was outside, because I read this quite recently, I was outside lying in the sun, like in the grass. That, yeah, it was such a hazy experience, I would describe it as, and there's not many books like this that I've read. It's really quite unique. So next is a genre that I rarely read, I'll be honest, but I was really drawn to this like Gothic aesthetic, 19th century setting, female rage, and a sort of twist on a traditional vampire story that I was completely sold when I saw this on NetGalley. And so this is Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna Van Veen. We start the book with Lucy, who is travelling to visit her sister Sarah because her sister Sarah has been suffering from a very unusual ailment, and it started with her obsession with a bog body that had been discovered on her husband's estate. She had been diagnosed by sort of family friend turned Dr. Arthur with a form of temporary insanity, like due to a brain fever. However, Lucy is determined to stop her sister from being sent to a mental asylum. And so she's determined to figure out what on earth is going on and discover all the secrets that she is hiding, because Sarah refuses to eat and she's not talking a lot of sense. And Lucy comes to believe that her sister is possessed by something. Lucy isn't an innocent protagonist though, and she has her own secrets. Joanna Van Veen is such an effective world builder, not only when it comes to like the settings, the set pieces of like the bog itself, the house, but also in situating us within the 19th century. It's a deal breaker for me in historical fiction. If you can't do that well, I probably won't even finish. Lucy is a great protagonist. She's one of those complicated women you see on TikTok. It's like, if you want complicated women, but you can't handle these people. She has flaws, but her loyalty to her sister and her love for her sister and that bond is the foundation of the story. This book is dark and gruesome and disturbing at times, but in the best way. There's body horror involved. There are some of that is quite explicit, but never so much that me as like an amateur horror reader felt disturbed. It may be horror and feature like a vampiric creature, but it's all about finding the humanity in every being. This next book is YA, and we've got a summer camp setting. We've got bonfire parties with your friends, theatre, passion, but there's a darkness to it because it is also a murder mystery. My friend Ava has her second book coming out on the 5th of June. It may already be out by the time this is up, but it is called Exit Stage Death. Ava is really good at portraying her protagonists' like passion for what they love. This book's protagonist is Livy, and at the start of the novel she is on her way to her final summer at Camp Chance. She's been attending this theatre camp for many, many years, but this is, you know, this is her final summer, so she's determined to win the lead in the senior showcase. The leading roles traditionally go to seniors. She's coveted it for so long, and she wants to prove to her family that acting is going to be a career for her. However, one of the campers soon ends up dead under very mysterious circumstances. So Livy has to team up with some of her, you know, familiar and newer faces at Camp Chance to try and like figure it out. There is a note that is discovered that sort of suggests foul play, so they kind of have to step up. Will the killer strike again before the group find them? Some of the players include Sam, who is the dashing leading man who rejected Livy the summer before. We've got Juliet, who's a social media influencer. Daisy is a fresh face to acting, trying to find herself. And Aaron, who is a Nepo baby, he's trying to work out where his passion lies. This is such a solid murder mystery full of twists and turns. I read this in like 3 sittings, which is completely unheard of for me. Like it would have been 2, but I had to go to sleep at some point. Livy was a great protagonist. Again, I'm a bit of a control freak, so she resonated a lot with me. She had such a tight grip on herself that I was like, maybe I can learn from this, because she had some great character development. I would say if you love theatre, then you will love this book, because Ava's love for the theatre oozes into these pages. But also, like, if you do anything creative, you know, if you're, you know, a writer, if you're an artist, you will strongly resonate with this. The way Livy approaches her craft is kind of very similar to the way that, I don't know, me as a writer, I approach my work. And that passion for creating art for yourself, you know, your own creativity, the stage and an audience, like that's all you need. It really stuck out to me. If you're liking this video so far, do give it a like. I make videos all about books, history, culture, etc. So do check those out and subscribe if you would like to. Finally, we've got summer in Italy vibes. We've got gorgeous meadow full of flowers. We've got Florence in all her glory, sculpture, art, light academia, essentially, if you like. I snuck a still from the movie in here, so if you have recognised that, you'll know it is A Room with a View by Ian Forster. Lucy Honeychurch is on holiday through Italy with her cousin Charlotte as a chaperone. Poor Charlotte. The Honeychurch is a very like upper middle class. Lucy loves Beethoven. She's very passionate. She's having all this lovely holiday. She's meeting all these new people. English people, obviously, because that's naturally what you do when you go on holiday to Italy, is you meet a bunch of English people. That's more commentary on the English in this era abroad, in the sort of empire colonial era, than any commentary on Ian Forster's writing. He did a fantastic job with all of these characters. So for a start, we've got the vicar, Reverend Beebe. He is coincidentally the new vicar of the place that, you know, Lucy is living back home. We've got unconventional father and son, the Emersons, a novelist who is played by Judi Dench in the film. Look, sorry, I know I'm supposed to be talking about the novel, but it is one of my favourite films, the adaptation of this book. Young Helena Bonham Carter as Lucy. You've got Maggie Smith as Charlotte, Judi Dench, who else? Simon Callow as the Reverend Beebe, Daniel Day-Lewis as Cecil Vyse, who is someone that Lucy also meets in Italy, and it's like there's a little love triangle in there. Lucy kind of gets torn between the socially acceptable life, the life of maybe affluence and increasing her social standing, doing what she wants, being the person that she is, you know, following her heart, all of that kind of stuff. And obviously those are represented by 2 different men, but it is, you know, very much Lucy's journey of self-discovery. Yeah, it's one of my favourite books. Ian Forster is just such an amazing writer of characters, of settings, social and political commentary and subtext. And every time I read this book, I take something new away from it, and actually it might be time to bring it out again. Next, I've got some fantasy. Dark fantasy, powerful magic, strong women, lovers to enemies to lovers to all of that. An evil regime to topple. It's desi, it's gorgeous. It's For She Is Wrath by Emily Varga. This is apparently a reimagining of The Count of Monte Cristo. I've never read that. I don't actually even know that much about it. But obviously, like, it's Pakistani romantasy. Dania is the main character. She starts the novel in prison. She has been imprisoned for a crime that she did not commit, and her ex-boyfriend essentially put her there. And she wants revenge. She wants revenge on him. She wants revenge on the tyrant who rules. She wants revenge on everyone who has done her wrong and done her family wrong and put her in this position. With the help of a fellow prisoner, she escapes and plans to use like the stolen djinn treasure and magic to kind of absorb this dark power and take her revenge. As with all dark magic, it really does take a toll on whoever uses it. So Dania has to fight this, obviously, and hold on to her humanity whilst also stoking the fire of her vengeance. I thought the fantasy aspect of this was incredibly well built, as well as the magic system. And it's so nice to read South Asian inspired fantasy. I want to read more of it. Also, I listened to the audiobook and I highly recommend that because Safia Inga was amazing. I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm going to keep it quite short. If you like a Victorian setting, seance and spirits, very dark and emotional with some romance, there is a certain aesthetic that I think of when I think about sort of early to mid 19th century London, outside of like ballrooms and stuff like that. But the London Seance Society by Sarah Penner is set in 1837 and follows Lena as she travels to Paris to meet with and secure the help of Vaudeline de Lair, who is kind of the biggest seance medium. Vaudeline is known for sort of giving murder victims the justice that they deserve by speaking to them and finding out about their death. And Lena, her sister, recently died, so she has sought her out to try and help her solve the mystery. So Lena goes back with Vaudeline to London to act as her assistant because she's been called to work on a particular case by the London Seance Society. Things get complicated though, however, when they kind of find themselves in the middle of something rather criminal. I really enjoyed this book personally. I'm a sucker for a 19th century novel and the plot was really well paced. There was sufficient kind of mystery involved to keep me hooked and invested in the characters. The connection between Lena and Vaudeline was just really, really well developed across the book. I'm obsessed with those like opposites confront each other and they've got completely opposite worldviews and they have to work together and get along and see how that relationship changes over time. So this is a perfect example of that. So if that resonates with you, the London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. I can't believe this is happening, but this next one, we've got industrial vibes, we've got countryside, coded, we've got, industrial revolution, the hardships that cause for working people, Yorkshire, rugged, stormy passions. It's the only Charlotte Bronte novel that I have ever enjoyed, and it's called Shirley. It's my favourite Charlotte novel because it actually says something of substance that's not like related to Charlotte's own struggles and life. I find her writing to be really kind of self-indulgent and self-involved. Most of her protagonists are like autobiographical self-inserts and very obvious ones at that. Shirley is actually based on what Emily would have been like if she was a rich woman. The character of Shirley, that is. Shirley is a woman of independent means. She's a landowner. She's like, has the big house. She's in charge. She has a friend called Caroline, incidentally based off Anne Bronte. She is not rich. They are very opposites in their kind of circumstances and in a lot of their character. Again, like Charlotte has such beef with Anne and it really pisses me off. Both women, as different as they might be, they are struggling with womanhood and their place in the world. This novel also addresses the Industrial Revolution and what mechanization does to communities that depend on certain industries and base their livelihoods around certain industries, and the Luddite movement and everything that came with that. We also follow two brothers, Louis, who's a tutor who is impoverished essentially, and then his brother Robert, who is a cloth manufacturer, so definitely more affluent. He's in charge of the mill that the community kind of all depends on, really. And obviously his introduction of machines are causing quite a problem for the local population. Also, the Napoleonic Wars have done a number on the country as well. Yeah, for me, this is Charlotte Bronte's best novel. It is not just in the substance, but also in the execution. And yeah, I do go into more detail about it in my ranking Bronte novels video, so do check that out if you would like to. It's a bit old, but I think it still holds up. Next, we've got a thriller vibes. Think luxury apartments, think murder, think blood, think wine. It's The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Jess is from London, she's the main character, and she's broke, she's alone, she's kind of looking for a fresh start, so she goes and she brings up her brother who is living in Paris. She's like, can I come and stay with you? She was kind of thinking, hey, if I'm gonna be miserable, I'll be miserable in Paris. He is reluctant, but she sort of goes, and by the time she gets to Paris, she goes to his apartment and there's no one there, her brother is gone. When she shows up, she finds that he's living in this like luxury apartment complex, like one of those kind of old Parisian buildings with all these like amazing flats in. Think Killing Eve. It's just like the flat in Killing Eve. It's like very uncharacteristic of her brother to be living here, and of course, then he has disappeared. So she's kind of having to try to get the neighbours to help because they're not very helpful at all. They're absolutely not keen to help, and because they've all got secrets, and she is the new person that they are kind of like. I really enjoyed this. It was a great locked room mystery. It was really suspenseful. The eclectic bunch of neighbours were really well cast. Lucy Foley is just a master of the genre. It was paced really well, kept my attention throughout. Really enjoyed the Parisian setting, which... So thank you for watching. Those are all of my recommendations based on vibes, aesthetics, my little mood boards. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it all the way to the end, do drop some kind of reference to Italy. Your favourite place in Italy? Have you ever been? Where do you want to go? What do you think of the new Pope? If you like this, do give it a thumbs up. I make videos all about books, history, culture, etc. So do check those out and subscribe if you would like to. Happy reading.